And welcome back to Morning Talk. You're listening to KSBC 980 AM and 100.5 FM. Porter Huntsman and Dylan Nielsen alongside with you this morning. And it is time now for our radio roundup interview. And this morning we are joined by Sevier School District Superintendent Kate Douglas and the principal of Pahvant Elementary School, Chad Johnson. And we appreciate you two taking the time out of your schedules to join us this morning.
You bet. Thanks for having us on.
Yeah, glad to have you on. And we'll jump right into talking to Cade this morning about what's new, what's going on in Sevier School District.
Yeah, one of the things I wanted to talk about, aside from just welcoming all of our teachers and students back for the new year, something we're kind of excited about that we started last year that we're going to move forward again with this year is we have a school climate reformation grant that we were able to obtain about 4 years ago. It's a 5-year grant cycle, and it's been very, very helpful in basically repurposing our cultures and really thinking about school climate, what goes on in the school as far as climate and relationships. And last year we started putting some emphasis on our employees. We had a expert visit our school district and speak with us, and she's written a book. She's really a relationships expert, and her name is Jody Carrington. And one of the things that she said that we really took to heart is she said, if the big people aren't okay, the little people don't stand a chance. And so one of the things we've tried to do is really focus on our own people, on our employees. Her book, by the way, is called Kids These Days. It's an excellent book. We actually bought a copy using the grant for every employee in our district. And then, like I said, we on a Saturday, we had all of our employees come in. I've talked about that before on the radio. Mm-hmm. But one of the pieces of this that we started last year is each month we have a topic that we post for all of our employees. Our teachers have the opportunity to go in and do little modules on emotional wellness, occupational wellness, mindset, social wellness, physical wellness, just to really help them maintain their wellness so that they in turn can help students. It's kind of that airplane analogy where, you got to put the oxygen on yourself first so you can care for others.
So before we get too far ahead of ourselves, just to be clear, climate's kind of a big deal in the political spectrum. So we're not necessarily talking about environmental climate, but more social climate as we move into this.
Very good, Dylan. Yeah, absolutely. We're not talking about climate change or that type of climate. We're talking about the culture of the school, the culture/climate of the school, where we talk about how we treat ourselves, how we treat our colleagues, how we treat our students, and how students treat each other. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so it's been really good. We've seen some really good changes. Obviously, we consider, if you really think about it, we are in a mental health crisis. The number of suicides are way too high. The student behaviors that we are seeing throughout the state and throughout the country, we need to offer more supports and help students be well. One of the things we've learned, and I know Mr. Johnson would testify to this, is that if students aren't mentally well, they really struggle learning academically. So we don't spend a lot of time on it, but we do have to make sure that our students are okay and that they're stable and well. We've been able to hire 5 therapists, mental health therapists, that we share throughout our 12 schools. We've seen tremendous effort there. We also have refocus coordinators, and not every student needs wellness every day, but when a student is unregulated and really struggling, we have to have mechanisms in place where we can help regulate them. You think about what happens in the life of any student on any given day. It can be difficult. It could be the loss of a loved one. It could be the loss of a pet. It could be it could just be a struggle at home, something going on in their life that we're not even aware of that makes learning hard. So we have to address that. We can't ignore it. We don't usually spend a ton of time addressing it. It's just little things that we do that make a big difference, and then students are ready to learn.
All right.
Very cool.
So we, again, are joined this morning also by the principal of Pahvant Elementary School, Chad Johnson. Put you a little bit on the spot here, but he talked about the climate of the schools. And so I want to know what is the climate that you strive for there at Ashman?
At Pahvant
Elementary? Pahvant, excuse me.
So, it's easy to get those mixed up.
Yeah. We've been working really hard on the things that he talked about. We, about 6 years ago, hired what we call a refocus coordinator at our school. It's a challenging position, but very rewarding in a lot of ways. They work specifically with students who come to school with the challenges that Superintendent was talking about, where they've lost a loved one. There's maybe someone going through family separation or a death in the family or whatever, and they're there to lean on and to be able to talk to and to be a support. We're finding that students are spending more time in class based on the fact that they're able to get the supports and be somewhat emotionally regulated to be able to go back in and learn. So their academics can still be a priority while we're focusing on their mental health, because, as he was saying, it's the ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. And that's the same. It's true with academics. It's also true with mental health. And if we can intervene at an early age, which we've been trying to do for several years now, we're hoping that the long-term outcomes will be that they'll be more adjusted when they go out into what people call the real world. And so that's the things we've been doing. We have our mental health therapist there at the school, our assistant principal, and some of our special ed people are highly involved with what we're doing. We meet regularly. We're talking about students by face and name and learning their challenges. And in a lot of cases, we're involving parents.
All right. Appreciate that. Is there anything else you wanted to ask of Principal Johnson while we have it?
Just put a plug in for the great work they do at Pahvant Elementary. What we've been discussing is one of their greatest strengths at that school. They really do provide excellent supports for students, both academically and as needed for social and emotional support to students. When I think of Mr. Johnson, I think of someone who's very strategic and very thoughtful in how he approaches everything. And when you visit Pahvant Elementary, you see teachers that love kids. You see a lot of interaction. They've really made a focus the last few years over student engagement in the learning process. I know that's something he really coaches to and watches for in classrooms. They've got some awesome traditions there. I don't know very many principals throughout the state that put on a breakfast every year for students, and that's something he's done for I don't know how many years. They do a full-fledged breakfast, pancakes. I mean, it's delicious. Wow. I bop up there. I mean, they love kids up there. They're also known to make shakes for kids. Mr. Johnson himself passes off multiplication facts with third grade students. That's hundreds of students that he's passed off their facts and gives them a little medal and an award. It's something that it's a big deal to kids, and it's very important as far as math. Kids that know their math facts, it's kind of like reading on grade level by third grade. If you have those math facts down, it sets a pretty strong foundation for math success. But what other things did you maybe want some traditions? Or
a couple of things like we just had in December. We do our Christmas luncheon where parents come and join their kids. The kids at the elementary level really love to have their parents, grandparents, whoever come to the school and see them, not only just for a program or whatever, but we have them come and eat lunch with them so they can kind of see what their day looks like. And the kids really enjoy that. We had a lot of positive feedback from parents on, coming in and seeing the school and being a part of that for the day. And we appreciate the parents that do come out and support that. It is a two-way street. Education's not just on us there at the school where you drop your kids off and go away. We rely heavily on the parents to do their part, and we appreciate their support. I was also going to say with our teachers and their mental health, that's something we're also always looking at. We try at Pahvant specifically, I can speak to that of we're kind of a big family there. When someone's going through hard times, we rally around each other, support each other, whether it's a health issue or a family issue or whatever it is that's going on. And it's nice to go to an environment every day where, you have people around that not only care about the kids, but we care about each other.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. I think that's really cool because I think now more than ever, it's probably really important to get parents involved in kids' learning. And that's been a big issue back east. And so it's good to see local schools getting parents involved. And I know a good principal made all the difference in my life. I went to Gunnison Elementary School, and Grant Hanson. Grant Hanson?
Yeah, I know Grant
He was
well.
my principal for a long time, and he made all the difference in my life. So we sure appreciate the work you do over there at Pahvant.
Thank you.
A couple of other quick things that just popped into my mind when I was thinking about Pahvant Elementary, and similar things occur in all of our elementary schools, but something parents often ask me about is, what are you doing as far as civility, teaching students patriotism, teaching students a love for the Constitution, those types of things. And any of your listeners, if they have the opportunity next year as it rolls around to schedule to go to the Pahvant Elementary Patriot what do you call it?
Patriotic program. It's called the Hope of America.
Yes,
it's the biggest program we have, and it is pretty phenomenal.
Amazing. They fill the Sevier Valley Center auditorium. I mean, it's packed every year. Wow. Throughout the program, there's many opportunities for cold chills. You really do feel and learn a love for, those that have gone before us, and that freedom isn't free. They also do, each year they have an amazing Constitution bee, similar to a spelling bee, but students are asked about the Constitution. Our local Rotary Club donates an actual copy of the Constitution to every student in fourth and fifth grade? Fifth grade. And then we do these Constitution bees in our elementary schools. And it is so cool to go watch. Usually we have local legislators that come and conduct and judge. Mm-hmm. And what these students learn and know about the Constitution is fantastic. So there's just some great things going on.
Also, I'd add, too, one of the things that we value, because we do value the input from parents, we try and keep that two-way communication open. We offer, and we do conduct every year, 3 opportunities for parents to come meet with the teacher with their child. We do them before school starts so that the parents can come in and have a one-on-one opportunity to let the parents or the teacher know of any challenges that their student may have, or any gifts they may have, or things that we should be aware of before the school year even starts, so that we can set that student up for a great success, open those lines of communication right away. And then 2 more times throughout the school year, we host those. But we encourage parents to communicate regularly. Every single teacher has a platform, whether it be a personal text or their email or whatever, that they're communicating with parents regularly. So if you have questions, if you're out there and a parent wondering about what's going on at the school or whatever, we have an open door policy. Come in, talk to us, reach out to the parent or the teacher, reach out to us in the office, whatever works best for you, and we can answer questions for you.
Well, very cool. Well, we don't have a ton of time, so before we get going, I know, Kate, you wanted to mention something about the state school board meeting you had just a little bit ago.
Yeah, as we wrap this up, I just wanted to put a quick plug in. Last weekend, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, all of our school boards throughout the state met at an annual conference where they receive a lot of training. They sharpen their saws. It's excellent to see, the hundreds of school board members throughout the state get together and really study and learn and have an opportunity to improve ourselves as school boards. And all of our local Sevier School District board members were there in attendance. Several breakout sessions. I wanted to name one really specifically, and then maybe I can even come back next month and talk more about this. But Tammy Pfeiffer was the education advisor for Governor Herbert for several years and was really an advocate, just an amazing person. And she has moved on and works closely with Timothy Shriver. And they've started a really cool movement throughout the country, and it's called the Dignity Index. And I would just encourage any of your listeners to just Google that, the Dignity Index. And what they're talking about is treating each other throughout the country. And Utah's piloting this program. The University of Utah has jumped on board. There's some amazing state leaders that have jumped on board. And they're talking about, trying to get away from this contempt that we see throughout the country when we disagree. It's a way to talk about how to improve how we treat one another. Conflict is actually healthy. Conflict is what has created this amazing country that we live in. So we want healthy conflict. We want to learn, all of us, commit ourselves to discussing our differences with dignity and treating others with dignity. And when you first go to that website, you log in, take a quick dignity pledge, and the pledge states, "There's no America without democracy, no democracy without healthy debate, and no healthy debate without dignity. Therefore, I pledge to do more to treat others with dignity and not with contempt." It's a great website. You give them your email, and they'll send you periodic updates, and you talk about this. It's really just an index where it's a 0 to 8 scale, or 1 to 8, and you try to improve how you treat others, especially those with whom you disagree. Mm-hmm. It's awesome. I would highly recommend anyone to check that out, and something I'm going to be talking about in principals meeting. I know our school board will be discussing it in their upcoming meeting. So wanted to put a plug in for that.
We are running short on time, but I do want to jump back to a little bit earlier during our talks. We were talking about the mental health of students. And one of our top news stories today is actually from Governor Spencer Cox talking about mental health of students, specifically when it comes to social media.
Yes.
And I wanted to get your thoughts on this again with your special point of view when it comes to working with students in his thoughts of possibly trying to get less cell phones in schools, maybe kids off of social media until they're a little bit older. Just your overall feelings on what he had to say there.
Yeah, I saw his speech, and I've read several news articles on it. I really appreciate that you ran that you've made that a focus of your news today. Some of the things I'm really liking that I'm seeing is just more parental involvement. I think there's already some draft legislation in this area, and we've got to be careful. We can't get too extreme in our effort, or we'll have pushback there, and we should. We don't want to take away, amendment rights to students' freedom of speech and things like that. However, more parental involvement. I saw one of the draft ideas for draft bill in a news article this morning where for students, in order to sign up for social media, they need more parental consent. And I think that is, I agreed with the great majority of what Governor Cox was saying. It is harm. Social media is very dangerous. I know in his speech he likened it to cigarettes. If you had a young teenage child come home smoking a cigarette, you would immediately take that away because you know the dangers of that. Same thing, social media is even more harmful than a cigarette. And that's some of the things that Governor Cox discussed. And I agree. It is hurting our children. It's hurting our country. It's hurting our adults. So we need better, it's part of our reality, but we need better adult role modeling of how to appropriately use social media. And then we need, unfortunately, it might be an area where we need a little bit more control, where we don't just allow this free reign of social media that we know for a fact is harming our children. There's several studies where it's directly linked to suicide and to self-harm and depression, and that's not healthy for children. So I'm thrilled that there's discussions. We're starting to see some ideas for solutions. And we need to obviously keep those solutions within our Constitution, and continue. I applaud Governor Cox and his efforts and all of our legislators in trying to make improvements in that area.
All right. Well, appreciate your thoughts there, touching on that
You
this
bet.
morning. Once again, joined by the Spear School District Superintendent Kate Douglas and Pahvant Principal Chad Johnson with us this morning. Thank you so much for taking the time to be here.
You bet. Thanks for having us.
All right, that's going to do it for our Radio Roundup interview for today.